good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Sevik the Degen here with Dex CEO Jake and Jaded Emperor, both from Dex Finance. Welcome, guys.
Hello, hello.
How's it going? Let's talk alpha.
Yeah, let's do it. Had a lot of news over the last few days. Things have gotten wild. We've had a chaotic last couple of weeks.
Well, it's about time we let everybody in on the plan. Definitely have some big things in the pipeline, and we just want to make sure that everyone's on the same page and clarify anything that needs extra attention.
Great. Well, where do you want to start today? Probably Dex IRA.
Yeah. I guess we might as well address the elephant in the room. Let me kind of go through some of the larger scale topics. The Dex IRA move obviously was not an easy decision to make. Nobody has wanted Dex IRA to succeed more than myself. Everyone been there with us since the beginning has been incredibly supportive and faithful, and it's like I said, it was definitely not something we wanted to do. We really gave it everything we could to try to keep it alive, but ultimately at the end of the day, we want to be a SaaS company. That's where the money's coming from right now. To be honest, it's really amazing that Dex IRA held around for so long.
Yeah.
And that was not for lack of trying. If you guys refer back to the article that we put out, I put a screenshot of the chart there, right? In fact, actually, you got that available, Sevik? You want to pull that up, maybe?
Pull it up here. Caught me off guard a little bit.
All right, I can do it here. Hang on one second. Here we go. I got it up. Let me find it here quick. All right, so we'll go over all this here, but I just want to show you guys all something that's pretty important, right? So if you notice the Dex IRA chart here, just to kind of give you guys an overview, it started down here with a little dream, right? We this was our first time in the space. We saw some of the movements at the time. SafeMoon had just come out. Some of these other reflection tokens were starting to be popular. Even at that point, we kind of refused to just fork anything, right? So we were the first reflection token to have blue chip rewards paid back, right? Still part of our same ethos. And just to kind of go over some of these movements here with you guys, right? So obviously this first big one was the first big movement you see there. That was our coin market cap listing. Obviously we had, we waited until we were really fleshed out, and we really looked good across the board, and that was on purpose, right? We did really well when we hit coin market cap, but also too, a bit of luck there. We just got by some different sources, and even back, tell you how much crypto's changed since then. We actually spent some marketing. A lot of our marketing at the time was on like coin market cap stuff, right? We did the same stuff when money market launched, and we got almost zero results, right? So
yeah,
just to give you an idea of how the market and shifts, and different things are not, they don't last forever. 2 years in crypto is like an eternity. But this was great, right? I mean, short-lived, only lasted like, and it sat up here for like less than half an hour, and then came crashing down, right? We started building and trying to do more marketing. You'll see these two bumps in the middle. Those two were, so we had a deal with what was it? Not Dex Screener, one of the big charting platforms. This was $100,000 deal, right? We had two prime top banner ads that got listed separately, right? And for $100,000, we got these 2 ads that ran for a week, 2 separate weeks, and honestly, you can see the pump up, and before the second ad even got up, it came right back down, right? Not exactly the results we were looking for, but short-term pump, quickly dump, right? Obviously, the big one here, the big one is the launch of the money market. We wanted to, there was never an idea ever that we were just going to abandon this token. We always wanted it to stay with us. So we built this whole money market protocol, basically around it, right? At the time, similar situation. And now people were, kind of losing hope, and we really wanted to craft, a protocol that really had that in the center focus. So this, when the money market came around, right? It was included in the ETFs, right? But this was like the first month of money market, right, where we were minting, I don't know, something crazy like $35,000 worth of ETFs per day, right? So all of these buys are not, I mean, not all of them, but a very large percentage of these buys were artificially created. Like the protocol was printing them out themselves, right? But giving them out as rewards. So you can clearly see, again, same situation, just fell back down. This last little pump here, you see, this is when the V2 ETFs came out, right? So again, even up until a couple weeks ago when we launched the V2 ETFs, we still had the mindset we're gonna keep this around, and continue to make it work. But you can see without massive marketing behind it, or without inflated, or I hate to call it Ponzi, but without manufactured buys created by the protocol, even that couldn't sustain, right? So now we're kind of falling back to our previous levels. This area, right, right where we're at right here, there's been long-term support over the last 2 years, right? So and a lot of that's because our base, right, the people that bought in the very beginning, the people that have stuck with us, they've held on, right? Over the last 24 hours, I've heard some criticism, and again, it's not for me to tell you guys how to feel. Everyone's entitled to their own emotions, right? But some of the criticisms were that we maybe should have told you earlier, or we should have done something differently, or not have maybe put it all together with this, right? But I hope you guys can understand the position that we're in as well. Up until a week or so, 2 ago, we were not planning on getting rid of this. The plan was to keep it around. But after seeing the last attempt at the V2 ETFs and including it in multiple ETFs, and having those ETFs as part of the the rewards for the vaults, it just we're just not seeing the type of volume that we wanted to see. And
Yeah.
honestly, that's not to say that this isn't a good idea. Maybe we're just too early. Maybe the crypto market is not has not matured enough to have these longer term tokens, right? And the biggest problem, right? So just so you're aware, it's not like we don't still believe in this the token. It's not like we're trying to get out of anything, right? The biggest concern for us is that the last 10 months, right, where we have seen these pumps have been artificially created by the protocol, but at the same time, there's actually been an option for you guys to use that to wrap with DexShare to farm more DexShare, right?
Yeah.
In 2 months, that's going to be gone, right? And then what's going to happen is there's not going to be that option anymore, and you're going to go back to getting reflection rewards on like $1,000 to $2,000 worth of volume a day, and it's not going to be pretty. I mean, we know that our true OGs are in Dex IRA, and we didn't think it was right to just let that fizzle out, right? We don't want to leave those people hanging. So the focus, as I said, is all moving towards real yield products that are, that are actually beneficial to the space, that are beneficial to the user, and that create real revenue, right? All of that money, all of that income is being funneled through back to DexShare in May. And we felt that it was, that it was only right that Dex IRA holders get some of that income. So, I know there's a lot of questions out there, and we're going to get to each one individually, but I just wanted to give you kind of an idea where my mindset's at. I'll also iterate again too, like I know some of you guys have also been upset that, I could have sold the highs, and yeah, you could have. I'll only say this, that, my personal position was probably worth almost, $800,000 at one point. And of course I didn't sell for a number of reasons, but primarily because, one, I believed in the product, of course. And two, any selling on my part would have just destroyed the product, the project as a whole. And, I wasn't, I wasn't willing to do that. By making this move, I can assure you this has zero benefit to me personally. In fact, I'm going to be taking a pretty substantial loss on this. I've already said that I will be burning my 50 million tokens that I have left. So those will not count towards, towards the migration, right? Part of this whole thing is that, I'm in a little bit of a tough position because I need to make things right with the Dex IRA holders. But I also have to, maintain, a level of trust with the Dex shareholders, right? So we're in a little between a rock and hard place. We can't increase the supply, which means the treasury over the next couple of months has to keep buying this Dex share and or GDEX in order to make this happen. So, like I said, I'm gonna take one on the chin. I'm just gonna burn the 50 million tokens that I have left as an act of good faith, just to show you guys that that none of this is for my personal gain. It's 100% because I believe this is the best thing for all the investors as a whole.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
And I just want to also back that statement up too. When making the decision to consolidate Dex IRA into the new upcoming GDEX, it's our perspective too that what we're doing is creating a more reliable income for those holders as well. Like you were saying, once we're no longer able to wrap Dex IRA up with DexShare, then people who are holding Dex IRA are going to be in a rough spot, because with the upcoming end to the emissions and then the upcoming launch of DexSwap, a lot of the revenue that we're going to be generating as an ecosystem is going to be, sent back to and distributed to GDEX holders. So, assuming everything goes as planned as far as the revenue we're bringing in from these SaaS products, we're hoping, or we're expecting that that passive income is going to match, or at least be a little bit better than what you're already getting these days, right? And it helps the team as well with focusing and kind of trying to keep everything under one roof and to consolidate all this into a tighter package. Bringing Dex IRA into GDEX, just kind of, like I guess just like I was saying, it brings everything under one roof, helps the team as far as building the ecosystem in the future and making sure everything works together in a very well way, a congruent way with everybody in the community. We don't want to have a big batch of Dex IRA original holders who are feeling different from the rest of our community who, might be experiencing something good with what we have upcoming.
Yeah, I think that's well
exactly.
said.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it moves the focus forward off the tokenomics. Just it allows us to fully automate with GDEX and move focus away from our legacy Dex IRA token. The other use that's been brought up is about using Dex IRA as a launchpad token. Jake, what do you have to say about our focus about moving away from launchpads and with our new, with not our new direction, but the direction we've been heading for a while with the SaaS products? What are your thoughts on that launchpad aspect that was originally a part of Dex IRA?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point. Well, first of all, I'll say that I don't I'm not even necessarily saying that we won't have a launch pad, right? And we have a launch pad. It's ready to go. And you know, we could sure. I mean, that's an option. We could keep it and keep Dex IRA as the governance for the launch pad. However, the reason why we haven't had any launches yet outside of our own is because we've found it incredibly difficult to find good projects to bring to you guys, especially in a bear market. And the risk of having something that's not, I mean, if you guys are upset that we're moving Dex IRA, I mean, think about all the other reflection tokens that have been buried over the last 2 years. So now imagine if we offer those as launchpad services, and then you guys are buying into tokens that are losing value or not closing down, right? So the one part is protecting our investors. The other part is the effort that it takes. Like even if we were to get let's say if we were to get a new project every week, right? And DexIRA was the governance for the launchpad. You're probably right that that could maybe be sustainable, right? But the amount of effort that it would take to get one project a week on the pad, right? With that amount of resources, we could make a lot more income for everyone by doing things for the vaults and for the swaps, and some of the other things we have coming up on the roadmap. No one's going to pay us, $5,000 to launch a token. They'll just go to, DXSale or Pink Sale, for half a BNB, right? So, at that point, it's just a cost benefit ratio, and we would rather provide bigger gains for you guys just under a different name, a different token, than just kind of spinning our wheels with the pad. Again, that's not to say we won't have it. The pad will still be a part of the system. And if we have more projects, that we actually are talking to a couple that we'll use more of an incubation role. And so that's still a thing, but still all that can happen under GDEX, and not only will you have governance for the pad, but you'll also have governance for other aspects of the project as well.
Great, thanks, Jake. I have quite a few other questions on Dex IRA, but I know we have a lot to get to, so I'm kind of thinking we move some of those to the end. But I do want to make sure we cover one important question. You made an announcement today about Dex IRA and some of the sales that occurred early this morning. What is the updated migration plan for anyone who's trying to track all the communication that's occurred?
Yeah, of course. And I want to be fully transparent on that aspect. Look, this is migrations like this are never completely black and white. It's we're not hiding the fact or ignorant to the fact that this is gonna there's gonna be some finesse involved. The fact is that we're basically trying to squeeze a round peg into a square hole, or square peg in a round hole, however that works. And but we're willing to make it work, right? I know there's some concerns about losing value, right? Like, we said today that we'll honor at the very minimum a swap price of 0015, I think was about the time of the announcement. So we'll honor that. We will still be continuing to buy back Dex IRA. Part of this whole process involves us, either first getting all the IRA back, right? So at the end of the day, basically the Treasury will just own 100% of the Dex IRA. And the other half of that is the Treasury also buying Dex share so that we can have enough for this migration. It's like I said, we're not going to lie about the fact that it's it's going to be a tight squeeze, and we're going to make it work. There's still a fair amount of liquidity that's held in a liquidity locker through Unicrypt. This was done when we first launched as a sign of good faith that we weren't planning on running away with any of the money. And I think hopefully we've earned the trust not to have to make those kind of decisions. But in this case, it actually kind of works out well for us. There will always be enough liquidity, or will there, at least until I think it's October. There'll be enough liquidity if anyone does want to exit. They'll have that option. It also gives us a little bit more time to, if everything's not merged over by May, we can continue to move that out. The process will be simple and smooth, similar to the bonding mechanism, which you can use now. Of course, I know they go quickly, and they have actually for quite a while. But again, it's based on the supply of DexShare that we have. So we are going to increase the supply on those bonds. Again, we're gonna be continually, trying to buy back Dex IRA if it's cheap enough. If people sell, right? And then at the same time, like I said, we're going to be buying the DexShare in order to fill that supply for the merge over. Did I miss anything there, guys?
No, I think that sounds good. So what I'm hearing is Dex IRA will have options to bond for conversion into DexShare through the Olympus Bonds program up until the May 9th migration date, or the end of emissions on DexShare. And then at that point, or somewhere around there, we will offer a migration for people to submit their Dex IRA for new GDEX as funds are available for the Treasury to purchase the GDEX. Ideally, that's at that time, but depending on what the market conditions are, it could be an ongoing effort. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, basically. I mean, honestly, if it can't all be done in one foul swoop, then it will be a fair process for everybody. Similar to the bonds are now, but maybe less of an auction style and more based on the percentage that you're holding. So everyone will have the equal opportunity to base just to swap. Without, it wouldn't be a bond; it would just be a straight swap based on supply available and the percentage that you're holding. Like I said, I think the important thing to remember is, like, guys, we've never let any of you guys down. We've really tried to make right on everything that we've done. Whether things have gone sideways, with our fault or somebody else's. So I hope you can have faith in us that we're not gonna just push this through without making sure everything's done down to the letter and everyone's taken care of. I mean, honestly, my family, I have, friends that I am, in the real world that have bought in from day one, same as everyone out there, just, on the internet. So, everyone's in the same boat here, and no one's going to get left behind.
Great. Yeah, we have some extra questions here, but I think we should move on and maybe come back to these at the end if we have time. Otherwise, we can release answers to these in our Discord and Telegram chats. But I know we have a lot more to cover here. What do you think about moving on to USDX? Plans for that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to. Let's make sure we come back to it. I definitely don't want to. If there are more questions, I want to make sure that we're available to to answer anything that comes up. But yeah, we can pivot for a little bit.
Well, I think you covered most of them. Let's just there's one or two left. Let's just quickly go through those then. The one question about the Dex IRA that's in the Maxi ETF. You want to describe the process for how we would handle migration of tokens within the ETFs and what you've built in?
Yeah. So again, this will be something we'll deal with, in May during the migration. Again, there is liquidity in Dex IRA. They do still earn, you can still farm with it. You can still get your reflections, right? So really nothing changes in that regard. The new V2 ETFs actually have the ability to, we have the ability to swap tokens out. So it won't be an issue at all. Like, it'll just be another step and one more thing I have to do for the migration, but we'll make it right. Yeah, you guys probably won't even know, won't even tell. We'll just, it'll either be migrated to a new one or we'll just remove it and reallocate.
Okay, good. Yeah, that pretty much covers the majority of the Dex IRA questions. We've touched on all of them in some way or another. Let us know in the chat if you have any additional questions or something wasn't made clear.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess let's do the same thing. I'll give you a little overview on USDX, the new plan for USDX, new and ongoing plans, I guess. Yeah. And we'll get in some questions. So I guess to start with, part of our planning, we've been on this mission to collateralize USDX fully, and moving forward, come goals. Part it's one of the objectives, or one of the the reasons why we're moving this way. Amongst others, there's a lot of benefits, but back to kind of going back to the similar reason why we're one of the reasons why we're moving pieces around like Dex IRA is that as a SaaS company, building usable products. If that's going to be our focus, then that's where our attention and our time and our resources needs to be spent, right? You know, the current USDX is it's a feat that we were able to keep it pegged for so long. Everything's working exactly as it's supposed to be. A good example of this was that the big $200,000 sell the other day. It took all of about 2 hours for the peg bot to push us back up to to above the peg. But again, there's some not concerns, but there's some levers that need to be pushed, right? We need to make sure that there's always enough enough funds in the bots to keep it running. We have to make sure that the ratios of income backing the peg is enough to cover if there are sells, right? You know, little things like that, right? So the primary goal is to create this change this from an algo stable, right, where it's based on this backing and automated peg regulation bots to like a true asset backed stable, um, uh, which is 1-to-1 with like USDC, right? So the only way that you'll be able to get USDX it will be to actually mint it by sending by minting with hard asset backed stables. And then once we're at that point, once we have a hard asset backed stable, then we can do a lot of different things with it, right? One of the really cool things that we're going to be building that will be ready by May will be the kind of the building blocks, the first steps to our more comprehensive DexBank platform. This will involve being able to use your USDX. You'll be able to lend it out to people or borrow against it for leveraged vaults, right? This is actually a really cool concept in itself, different than the average model that you typically see. The average, like if you go to Compound or Aave, right, you put one token in, you get one token out. What we've found out, what we've realized in like all of our market research and really digging into those models is that when it comes down to it, these guys are just they're just collecting all the liquidations. Like that's how they're making all like their big money. Which is great for them, I guess, but they're just crushing the smaller investors that are just making poor decisions. So big difference with what we'll be doing is because you're borrowing for the vaults specifically, right? That means you're not just getting a single token back, right? So if ETH collapses, right, you're not going to get if you have ETH and ETH collapses, you're not just going to get liquidated. Inherently, a single LP, like one LP, right? Like if you had like an ETH USDC pair, right? Inherently, that's going to have less volatility, right? Because it's half ETH and half USDC. Obviously there's a permanent loss and risks involved with that, but the LP itself is much more stable than a single asset, right? And if you combine that with potentially three other LPs, maybe a range of stables and volatile LPs, this becomes a much more protected asset that you can borrow. So what basically that's going to mean is more profits for you guys. Honestly, we're projecting this to be more profitable for us as well, because we're not just liquidating. We're gonna be continuing to make interest on that money. More profitable for the people lending it, because they'll be able to keep lending for longer periods of time, and definitely safer for the investor.
Not only safer for the investor, it's opening up so much options as far as how you want to diversify your risk with your leverage vaults, right? Controlling your liquidation risk based on what assets you're pairing compared to, single, like you said, single asset lending.
Yeah. We're I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but even things like having the automated take profit, go back to auto repaying the loans. So essentially, you could borrow a low to medium risk, take a low to medium risk leverage position out, and in a certain amount of time, basically just have it pay for itself, and you wind up with a nice position out of that.
Yeah, that's much different than what's offered elsewhere in the market right now in the DeFi space.
I'll tell you what. I'll give you. I know Sevik promised some alpha, so I'll give you a little. I'll give you a little bit more alpha on USDX. A little teaser alpha. USDX will not be an ERC20 token. We are going to be using a new standard of tokens that hasn't been created yet. Can't give away too much on that, but some really bleeding edge tech, and solves a lot of issues with approvals and things like that. It'll be completely backdata compatible, so you'll still be able to use it in your MetaMask. It's not like we're moving to Solana or anything like that, but some really exciting new tech features on the horizon.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what kind of discussion points people in the community come up with off that. We have some diggers, some sleuths out there.
I'll be impressed if someone comes up with it.
Yeah, so we had a question about upgrading the ETFs. I think you kind of covered that in the prior, how we can modify or migrate the tokens within the ETFs. We have a question. USDX collateralization. Will we be waiting until the investments reach 200% before converting half to stables to back USDX, or how will that work? Can you provide some clarity on that?
Yeah, so this is another another fluid situation. We're not there. No, there. I guess to let me start by saying we're definitely not waiting. There will the new USDX will be available for the migration for during in May when we start to make some moves. We're going to have to see how the next couple of months go as far as collateralization. As part of the manifesto, was or did does involve trying to boost our investment numbers up. So we're hoping to get to that point. Whether we get there by May or not, like I said, we'll have to see. We're still going to completely back it at $1. We may offer some incentives for people that want to wait until we do that, but like I said, the treasury funds are the community's money, and we're gonna maintain that status.
Yeah, great. Well, it looks like you've covered pretty much everything on USDX. So just to recap, we're with the emissions ending, the USDX LP is obviously going to not have any rewards coming from that. So we'll be modifying it more to a minting, and it'll almost be like a single stake lending. So that's where the rewards are going to come. Correct?
Well, I'm sorry. Can you say that one more time? What rewards are coming from where?
Rewards for USDX. USDX will become less of a farming sort of rewards token, and more of a liquidity providing stable asset. And that's where people will move more from a farm to a lending sort of revenue stream.
Yeah, lending, correct. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
There will be some additional. We got some interesting ideas. When we start talking about the swap, maybe I can elaborate more. But there's there'll be additional opportunities to use USDX as a liquidity provider, as well as internally we will be using it as a kind of a store of value, a transactional token, which will can potentially provide additional revenue from that.
Great. Yeah, I think we hold some of those for a later date. We need more topics to talk about in the future. So
Sure.
USDX and its role in DEX share, I think, is going to be a topic all upon its own.
Sure.
We have a question from Drogo in our chat that I think is interesting and worth touching on real quick. He's saying that since our protocol Dex Finance is deeply tied to the Seigniorage protocol due to our suffix and our origin, a lot of people think we would offer the same thing that a Tomb Fork might offer. With us changing up and going into this next era post emissions with GDEX and Dex Swap and Dex Bank and all these features, will we be considering rebranding away from our current brand?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's exactly what we're doing. That's USDX will probably still be called USDX to some degree. Maybe something a little different, but that's I think just having I just touched upon a new alpha, but like I said, it'll be quite special. Just having the first of this token available around that should set us apart. As far as Dex share, like I said, we're going to use the opportunity during the migration to rebrand into GDEX. You could kind of similar to kind of like Frax. Frax has their Frax share and Frax, right? And again, obviously, we're not trying to we don't copy anybody, so we're
Take inspiration.
yeah, we just, I mean, that's the whole point. We want to have, there's value in having a stable coin in the ecosystem, and there's value in having a more volatile token. The way that we're doing both of those are wildly different than anybody has done yet. And we'll get into some of the future Dex share stuff in a second here, but yeah, that's the idea. Is we're changing the way Dex share works, we're changing the way USDX works, and just trimming the fat everywhere else to really get rid of the old Tomb Fork brand. In fact, I guess I'll touch on this point quickly. One of the initiatives in the migration in May, basically the app.dex finance that you guys know as of now will be completely dismantled. Pretty much everything on that page will be gone except for the DAO. We'll have a more advanced DAO page. We'll leave the pad. Basically the core products, but pretty much everything else will be gone. And then we're going to funnel merge in the vaults and the ETFs and the swap, so that everything is kind of under one roof, and it will all have the same updated branding. Even like the vaults, we already have new designs and a little cleaner, better UI for some of that stuff. So yeah, everything's getting an overhaul. It will be very hard to find any remnants of Tomb Fork once we get to that point.
Yeah, exactly. Drogo, to your point, we don't have any interest right now in getting rid of the Dex Finance name. That name itself, we feel is growing in you know, in our response, and I'm losing the term here, but you know, we've been around for a year and a half, nearly 2 years now, and
DexFi is getting a reputation that's separate from DeFi.
Thank you there, sir. Yeah.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest. When we chose Dex Finance, that was established actually long before Tomb season even started. You know,
yeah.
You know, like Pancake Swap .finance. You know, it's been around. Yearn Finance. It's been around for, you know, the term has been around for longer than that, and we got all the good domains. So that's probably staying.
Yeah, and I think to your point, one of the reasons we've been pushing dexvaults.com and dexetf.com is to separate those SaaS products from the original Tomb product that we have on our website, and that's why the dexfinance.com app site has taken a bit of a back seat to those other two products, since it's not the main focus and revenue generator that those other two sites are. So come that May timeframe, when the Tomb portion of our project, the seniorage portion, comes to an end, that's when those original remnants will be removed, and everything will come back together in a new and we'll be pushing everyone back to dexfinance.com.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, with DexFi, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the seniorage model once the emissions end, to see what can be done. You know, there's been a lot of projects that have come to the end of their emissions, and that's just been the end of the project, period. Since we launched the money market, since before we launched the money market, we always had some perspective and some planning go into what's going to happen at the end of the money market. Rather than kind of scrambling to figure it out near the end. So we're definitely poised in a good spot to engage with this scenario, this new scenario where we won't have the emissions. Shares will be a fixed supply, converted to GDEX, but we'll be able to actually show people what can be done using the bootstrapping foundation that is the seniorage model, and how a project can transition from, you know, again, hate to say it, Ponzi-nomic kind of foundation to real yield, sustainable revenue, and something that is more reflective of a traditional finance product that people can rely on.
I mean, to be fair, when we created the first Ponzi-nomics token, we didn't really know. We didn't know that that's what it was. You know.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah.
You know, we're trying to just build stuff and go along with the flow. But I think you know, I can't speak for anyone else, but you know, I'm proud of the team, that we've been able to identify that, you know, even the money market, which is like, you know, no one thought it was possible to keep a peg, especially not you know, not a stable asset peg. You know, I was talking to AJ over at EMP. He was like, oh, you guys have some balls doing a stable asset peg, just because, you know, there's no wiggle room there, you know. So, you know, we've done an amazing job keeping it up, but, you know, it's time to put our big boy pants on. You know, we want to compete with the big, you know, in the big leagues, and the only way to do that is to, you know, get rid of inflation, get rid of, you know, any of the hindrances, or, you know, the time, you know, the budgets that are going to, you know, things that giving us a positive ROI back for you know, for the protocol, for the holders, you know, and really just taking the step forward.
Yeah, exactly. I think one thing that's interesting to look at for the way that DeFi works compared to traditional companies is, you know, DeFi is raising money through token sales typically, but if you have VCs involved, they'll give that money to a lot of those companies up front, and then they'll want to release a token so that they can get their funds back and go and invest in another company. Here, we didn't have any VC money. Everything that's been built has been built upon the funds that have been raised through the tokens, and now we're consolidating those tokens down into two key ones. One that is fully backed by, at this point, the plan is USDC or any other stable asset at some point, but then GDEX turns into the DexShare and the Dex IRA merge into GDEX, that really allows us to quit diverting revenue to multiple tokens to keep them around and provide return to investors. This allows us to focus on automatically and autonomously pushing revenue to the governance token, which is what I believe most of our community's been expecting out of DexShare.
And the governance token being actually truly reflective of the value in the income, or the income generated by the protocol, right? Up until now, it's all been speculative, like for all these protocols, right? Like until you start bringing in that real revenue and you're generating those actual fees that you can distribute to people, it's all just speculative. It's all hoping to kind of cash out on other people. And you know, and just to back up for a second, and not even like, and I'm not trying to clown on the Tomb model or Seigniorage in general, because it has a very good value. Like you were saying, Sevik, we're able to start a protocol from nothing. You know, truly, the original Dex IRA raise started from a lot of small holders just putting together, you know, some pocket change to see something happen. And the fact that we're able to grow it to this degree, to be able to gain a reputation, to be able to gain exposure, to be able to have some people in our community have good experience with trading these assets, it builds a foundation, and that's the real value that comes out of Seigniorage, more so than expecting a long-term vision to come out of, you know, let's say the Tomb model specifically. Like DexCEO was saying, we definitely realized quite a while ago at this point that what all these protocols are is just a like I was saying, like a bootstrapping phase to turn a product that's not really long-term viable into something that is, and give you the opportunity to do it without having the VC backing and everything to go into it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't love using the term Ponzi most of the time, but
yeah, but you got to be real.
No. I always say everything's a Ponzi until it's not. Take Tesla.
Exactly.
They're not giving money back to their shareholders, and that's one thing that's different here. We're with these tokens, with DexShare, and I know that's been a talking point in the community. You know, why are APRs dropping? Why are APRs dropping? It's different than every other growth company that's not in the DeFi space. No other investors are getting money back when you're in that growth stage. And we're still in that. We're still within our first year of really kicking off the SaaS products. And so it's difficult in DeFi to appease the APRs that are expected when we're trying to also use the funds to grow.
Yeah, well, I think I think our community is strong, and people that are here now are here for a reason, because we have a kind of a standard of intelligent and smart investors. You can still DeFi without getting rugged. We're starting to add some more degen kind of farms, that allow for higher APRs, but still with some level of protection, in the vaults. At least knowing that we're doing what we can to vet these projects and make sure that investors are safe at all times. So, honestly, I've never been more excited about where we're at. Obviously, it's been a long road, and bear market, everything's getting beat up, but we are really set up nicely. I guess to go back to your original question, Sevik, to discuss DexShare a little more, right? So, as you all know, it's the DexShare is essentially like owning a piece of the project. Post emissions, obviously the sell pressure will be gone, and the revenue will all funnel back to the holders. Like I said, there will be a process where we'll convert to GDEX, but again, that's more just for branding. And we'll work in the Dex IRA holders in there, but like I said, supply is going to stay the same. I've shared some revenue, some not even projections at this point. We have we have the first month of actual revenue, which, you have your opinion one way or another, but to be honest, I'm really, it's really encouraging to be at the numbers that we're at right now. I think, everything is kind of 2 steps forward and 1 step back. We haven't even hardly even started marketing, just a lot of grassroots kind of stuff, a lot of building. You guys know we're builders, so the plan is really to, the vaults are clearly moneymaker right now. We want to have all of the chains that are listed on the page available at that point, or by May, so that once, the problem is, right now it takes a few days, up to a week even to add the new chain, and get all the farms on there, right? But once the actual chain is on there, it's just adding these farms, right? Which gives us more, a greater base to pull from, better APRs, which creates more revenue. So you can see on the charts that I've got up right now, this is just after the first couple weeks here, and actually, the first bar right there, up near 2000, that's a little skewed because a lot of that actually had to do with, like migrating in and out, through our initial migration, right? So, realistically, let's call week one, in actuality, it was probably, under 1,500, maybe even. So if you can draw a virtual line from the first one, the first bar to the last bar, you can really see the trajectory that we're on, is really great. We have, even the last bar, there's like a little tiny little phantom knob up there. We actually have an AMA coming up early next week with one of the major projects, on Phantom. We could see over the last couple of weeks, you could obviously see the success we had with just adding one new exchange and the velocimeter stuff. Really got some good traction out of those guys. So really, the more we add here, the better off we're going to be, and that's going to be our focus here, just to really just drive home revenue over the next couple of months. Also, the more revenue we can bring in over the next few months will definitely put us down the right path and make the migration go more smoothly moving forward. I think maybe it's important to know the splits, the revenue breakdown. Like we mentioned, basically, so all of the figures that you guys that you've seen on the dashboards, right? The revenue on the app, I think it's about 230K or something like that. The chart that Sevik just showed, that is 100% DAO revenue. And let me pull up a screen here, just to kind of clarify some of this, right? And there's been some questions about revenue, and we want to be completely transparent with everything, right? It starts with all of our SaaS products, Dex Vaults, Dex Swap, Dex Bank will be the lending stuff that we're into, right? So basically, all the fees come in, they get split between the dev fund and the DAO fund, right? That's a pretty standard approach, right? The DAO revenue goes to the treasury, the dev revenue goes to support more future development, right? I'll say this: at the moment, the development fund does not cover the full development costs. That we have a very active and full featured development team, that I have been covering internally, bootstrapping ourselves, and again, that's just because I believe wholeheartedly that this is going to succeed and we're all going to make it. So I'm happy to do that, for now. But as I mentioned, in the State of the Union, that the ultimate goal would be to be self-sustaining, right? So essentially, the revenue coming here to the DAO fund, and again, just so you have a frame of reference, all all of the numbers that you've seen so far. The like I said, the revenue numbers on the homepage, the bar chart that just came up, that is all based on DAO revenue, right? So the idea is we'd split it up into three parts. 80% would go right back to the staked GDEX holders. Again, off the top, that's would just be the net, the net revenue brought in. 80% right back to the GDEX stakers. 10% always going back to treasury investments to try to make us more sustainable. And again, once we build up the treasury enough to have a sustainable, operations account, that you can see up here between new product development and marketing and all that, right? Those funds could, ultimately go back to the GDEX stakers, right? If there's no sense just sitting on good money. So, if we're sustainable, those could be used, to reward people in reward GDEX holders, or potentially support more liquidity buybacks, which is the last part. Because we're going to a single staking DEX share GDEX option, and we did this primarily because, well, one, we found that most of you guys like staking your single stake DEX share at the moment. Pretty much all of the liquidity is in the vaults right now, which is fine, but we're okay with that. But because we'll be moving to specific, strictly protocol-owned liquidity at that point, we want to make sure that that we continue to add liquidity to that, so that as we grow, there's enough liquidity for people that want to exit. But what this also does is it gives constant buy pressure, right? Because every time there's every time that the funds are automated back to the GDEX rewards contract, 10% will go to automatically buying GDEX. I think I also remember seeing a question today about the epochs. That one specifically, we're not 100% sure on that yet. A few different factors involved when it comes to that. One is that the different treasuries, as the money comes in from different sources, right? Like the Kanto treasury, for example, is earning a lot more than the Phantom treasury. So we can claim that one a lot more frequently, whereas it might not make sense to claim the Phantom treasury every day. Those kinds of issues. Probably daily or weekly. The buybacks, though, would probably be staggered to try to minimize anyone trying to game it, or like sell right after a buyback, that kind of thing. So we could stagger those buys.
Yeah. So when you're using the term epoch, you're basically trying to use a industry standard term here, DeFi term at least, for not having the rewards necessarily change consistently, but be kind of a locked in period. So if the epoch is a week, the rewards would be paid out per block at an equal rate for that week, and then reset the following week. Is that what you meant by that?
Yeah, I mean, again, part of this whole process is that we want to make this more fully decentralized. The team, myself, and everyone involved in building the product needs to stop having to move funds from place to place, and so everything will just be set up to funnel into a single treasury, and then again on an interval, right? There's different, an epoch can be subjective, but at a specific interval, the funds will be tabulated and sent to the rewards contract, which would then be adjusted. The emissions for that would be adjusted dynamically based on the reward, based on how much was getting put in, and versus the period of time that it was for.
Okay. Yeah. We had a question from Ed, which I think you answered the majority of it in terms of people won't be staking their LP. but I'd like to expand on that a little bit. Do we are launching DexShare. Oh my gosh, Dex Swap. Do we plan to implement some within the smart contract for GDEX, any sort of limitations to prevent other people from creating LPs, or is it if someone creates the LP, they're just not going to get additional rewards because they haven't staked it in the vaults? What?
Yeah, well, there's a couple things there. To be, the easiest way to say it is there's no way that they could, there's no benefit to doing that unless we wanted to. You know, there's potentially we could offer additional reward for liquidity providers through the swap, through the exchange. But part of the exchange, part of the one of the primary features of Dex Swap is complete MEV bot protection, which basically means every single pair that's traded on it will have to be whitelisted, essentially meaning that only human beings can place trades on it. So it's a kind of a rigid system, but it offers us a ton of protection. But essentially, no, like even if someone did create an LP, like there'd be no benefit to them because they're not going to be able to, they're not going to be able to arbitrate it. We'll be the only one doing this.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, there might be opportunities, and we're not closing the door on that. I guess we can get into some of the swap stuff in a minute here, but just to kind of give you a rough idea of the migration schedule and kind of how that fits in, and the reason why we're going to, one of the reasons why we're going to only single stake DexShare, GDEX, is part of our timeline for the swap. Obviously, we've announced some pretty big news, not only publicly for like the L1X stuff, but also we kind of hinted at another big partnership that's also in the pipeline and will be happening soon. It's really important that when the admissions stop for next year, that we have a plan and that we have a way for people to continue earning rewards. You guys are super patient and been great with all of our migrations, but we're not just going to wait until August when L1X is ready to be able to migrate and do our stuff right. So by May, we'll have like a V1, the first version of DexSwap available. Primarily focused on just getting our LPs on there. Essentially like a proof of concept with some of the new features we're looking for. UI, basically a hub to interact with our native tokens, and start building on further advancements. And then a month or so after that, we'll be launching this thing with the undisclosed partner project. Very cool project that we're working with. There'll be some integrations on both ends that allow us to have the perpetuals stuff that we've been talking about, or that was mentioned, but also that extra month or so will allow us to add more features. Start working in some of the lower hanging pairs, maybe offering incentives for pairs within the ETFs, because that's again low hanging fruit. We already have those going through the vaults. So we'll identify which pairs are getting traded the most, kind of start to add those to the swaps, and then ultimately when L1X is ready, we'll make another overhaul and have some brand new tech over there that we can then kind of bring back to to DexSwap proper, and also take what we've got from DexSwap and implement that into the L1X swap.
Great. Well, while you're talking about L1X, let's see here. We had a question from the community. Any investment from the investment fund in the Layer 1X pre-sale?
Yeah, that's a good question. Not yet. We were planning on it. Part of it is I'm personally invested in it. I do believe it's a good investment, and we probably will put something for sure. We're in a little bit of a situation with our migration coming up that I don't want to lock up too much capital that we may need for collateralization and GDEX merging and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the plan. We'll definitely put something in to be behind it.
Yeah. On that note, locking things up, someone had a question. Let's say for some reason Layer 1X is delayed or does not perform. Any backup plans?
Backup plans for who? For
us.
I think the answer is everyone needs to do their own research. This is a launch of a new Layer 1 blockchain. We're participating in offering the pre-sale with EMP Finance, and along with that, we're given the opportunity to take advantage of partnering with EMP Finance in launching the primary DEX on L1X. But along with that, there's always risk involved, and everyone should assess their risk tolerance. And I think that's what Jake just mentioned here for our treasury, for the investment. He just stated he'd love to invest and ape in, but it's just we have a lot of things going on, and say holding our base and ensuring the future of this company is critical here. So that's the same for everyone.
Another thing is, Dex Finance and the future of Dex isn't really hinging on Layer 1X. We'll always be looking for new products. We'll always be looking for new projects that we can integrate our tech into to draw revenue. Hopefully the idea is that we'll have more set up by then as well. So that, even if Layer 1X has like a shaky launch or something's not working out with the tech, that, that doesn't put us in a rough position where now we're like, oh no, what are we going to do? What are we going to do for all of our holders? We'll always be looking for opportunities to make money. And Layer 1X, like Jake was saying, isn't the only exchange that we've actually made a partnership with and that we're going to be building with.
Yeah, we're going to be built. We're going to be built and ready to go before then. But I will say this: I'm very confident. I've seen the tech; it works. They're currently ahead of schedule. Their projection in August was done so purposefully so that they could, over deliver, so to speak. So, right now everything's going to plan. I wouldn't be too worried about that. But again, it's something that everyone has to make that decision on them, on their own. But yeah, as far as DexFi is concerned, like I said, we can't wait for them to to do our own thing. So we're gonna keep building, and as soon as we're also gonna be building alongside of them. So I can definitely keep you posted on that. I'll be in the trenches with their devs. And they're already asking us for stuff. So they can start looking at and integrating, and we have the full support of their team. So if anything comes up, we'll definitely let you know. But everything's looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, basically L1X is a flywheel in our revenue stream. It's just one of them, but the SaaS products and
it's one of the most exciting ones, to be fair, for sure.
Yeah,
the tech that they're boasting is mind-boggling. So I completely understand people's apprehension and shock. It's definitely one of the most exciting prospects of our integration and a potential revenue driver. But by the same token, it's one of the most exciting ones, which often comes with risk. The most exciting things are risky. So
yeah, just the sheer quantity and fees that Uniswap brings in daily is mind-boggling, and the fact that their token holders don't receive any of it right now is something of a unique opportunity. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I get to further that point too. Like I said, I'm personally invested myself pretty heavily. I do personally think it's a good deal. I surely want to invest some treasury funds, and I'm sure we will. We'll definitely contribute something before before it closes up. But honestly, because of the opportunity that we have to be the featured DEX, the treasury is surely going to have a lot of L1X tokens on hand, one way or another. So You know, we have some we'll have some exposure to it, you know, either way.
Yeah, and if they like I was saying, if they end up releasing and all the features are working great, the interoperability is all there, even a very, very modest investment from the treasury will do good in the long term. We don't have to overly risk everyone's investments by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's bring it back to GDEX. Got a fairly straightforward question here. Not sure if I even have confirmed this. What will GDEX be paired with? Are you still thinking BNB?
You know, that's a good question. We may have, you know, okay. Let me take a step back. So, you know, it's not always bad to have different pairs. One of the reasons why we haven't added any different pairs is because in the current model, right, like on PancakeSwap, the arbitration bots are just really terrible. And what happens is if if there's, you know, not enough liquidity in one, or, you know, they you can sometimes you wind up getting just like nickel and dime to death. Um, you know, the arb bots just keep taking out the BNB as they get it. You know, I guess if I had to make a call on it right now, it would be BNB. But you know, having, you know, once USDX is fully collateralized, there may be some opportunities with USDX. Also, too, you know, you know, it's very possible that we, you know, go cross chain even on some of that stuff. You know, if we're down to just a single token, and it's just you know, it's just single staking GDEX. You know, one of the things that I've noticed that's just really a bonus is like, you know, to compound to harvest and compound a vault with like 3 pairs in it, on BNB, for example, you know, it might be $5 or $10, um, where like on Phantom it costs like 12 cents. So, you know, I don't, and we're not making any serious moves yet, but you know, I'm definitely open to having different options with different pairs on different chains.
Yeah, and also having control of DexSwap and the protocol, owning all the liquidity, we can build in some different fee structures around tokens like that that don't require us to split the liquidity out among different tokens. I mean, the one of the reasons why it's nice to have a lot of liquidity among different pairs, for say like Bitcoin, you may want it through USDC and BNB. It's so people can have one less hop when they're making that swap. You know, you're paying 0.3% fee per swap on PancakeSwap. So if something doesn't have a direct liquidity path, you're ending up paying 0.6% right off the bat just to make a swap that you're not noticing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it could even be all paired with L1X. You know, when we get to that point, if everything goes the way we think it should, you know, if we pair it all with L1X, you know, every transaction is 1 cent. So,
yep.
you know,
and
we'll
by the
have
protocol owning
for the
that,
treasury. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, and by the protocol owning the liquidity, all that can be done on the back end without any of our investors needing to worry about that because everyone's single staked, getting their rewards.
Exactly. That's why I've been dubbing this the Great Migration. You know, the migrations are always stressful, you know, semi-stressful times. We've done really well, and honestly, we've gotten really good at it. Without patting myself on the back, you know, the process has been, you know, we've gotten it down to, you know, simple multi-step processes that kind of take care of everything for you. But you know, there's always, you know, some extra attention, potential risk involved. There's potential fees and stuff, you know, that are you know, that we have to look at. But so, you know, just making sure that everything one last time gets on DexSwap, you know, that you know, not even saying that we won't migrate, or, you know, there's, you know, we plan on doing this for a while, so, you know, there'll probably be a Dex Vault, you know, 4.0 at some point. But like I said, once we're on our own on the DexSwap, everything will be much easier. We'll have control of everything. Things like Sevik mentioned, our POL, you know, can just happen in the background, similar to how we plan on fixing the ETFs. But end result is you guys just get a better product with cheaper fees. Oh, actually, on the subject, I think I did see another question earlier from Bookman about reimbursements for this great migration.
Yep.
We while we're on the topic, let's just address that. Of course, we'll always we'll always do what we can. Again, this 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 great migration is definitely going to be there. It's going to be multifaceted, and it's going to require some finesse. But yeah, we'll of course make it right, whether that's through direct reimbursements or additional rewards or extra fee, or reduced fees, or we'll come up with a combination to make it work. Also, too, it'll whatever your past experience was, it will be at least half as cheap, half as expensive, I guess, because this last one will just be we'll have to pay some exit fees on PancakeSwap. But then once we get back to once it's on the other half of that, getting it to the Dex side should be quite marginal. Because we won't charge you those fees to get in. Even more so with that, like in theory, don't quote me on this. I have to workshop this a little bit with the dev team, but in theory, like single staking deck share, like the regulation pools, liquidity and stuff you have to move, but I don't know, single staking deck share, you might just be able to just leave it or burn it. We'll just give you the GDEX, as part of the other half of the part of the migration process.
Yeah,
so
you're saying there's a lot of options. You're gonna and we'll be taking care of people.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, if you were to withdraw, you'd maybe lose a small, a very minor portion of your deck share coming out. But at the end of the day, you don't need that deck share anymore because it'll be GDEX on the other side anyway.
Yep. I've got a couple quick rapid fire questions, kind of building on that. Do you see the GDEX staking all happening in the vault system, like current regulator vaults, or someone was wondering if there was a way to do like old school staking like we used to have in the old app?
We may refine the process, but I think we'd probably keep it in the vaults. That's kind of our thing now.
Yep. Rapid fire. Got another one for you. Will GDEX be in any ETFs?
Oh yeah, for sure. We're definitely have to restructure some of the ETFs. Obviously the maxis and the 50/50s will be be split between USDX 2.0 and GDEX. So yeah, we'll definitely work that in for sure.
I can't tell if this is Tim's question or not, but it brings back memories of the current Grayscale BTC Trust. Will GDEX governance include GDEX that's staked and also in ETFs? Man, I got to read that again.
So you're saying if you own a GDEX in an ETF, will that count towards your voting power?
Oh yeah, that might be what it's saying. Yep, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we can find a way to work that out.
I don't think we have any plans to make people unstake in order to do any sort of governance voting that we have in the future.
No, yeah. The ETFs might be but yeah, it's probably all the same same stuff. We'll be able to take
that'll be something to think about. Yeah. Okay. You have anything else on GDEX? I think we've answered all the. Oh wait, yep. Let's touch on the automated liquidity zaps, the 10%. There's a question here, and it might be something that's worth discussing a bit more. So the protocol owned liquidity will all of the GDEX liquidity will be protocol owned. And can you explain your thoughts about how that might happen at launch, because we have a lot of initiatives to do in the next 2 months, but then how the 10% zaps will add to the liquidity over time.
Yeah. So um, obviously we have some very advanced zapping capabilities. That's a kind of a loose term, but basically, if there's $100 in revenue, 10% of that would go up to buybacks, buyback liquidity zaps. That's I'm calling it, I guess, for lack of better terms. But essentially, that just means that out of that 10%, half of it will go to buyback GDEX, and the other half will go to buy BNB or L1X or whatever we're pairing it with. And we'll put those two together, and then that'll just get sent back to the treasury. Um, you know, we we are aware that that early on, there's we're going to be a little light on liquidity, right? But at the end of the day, without there won't be any inorganic sell pressure or inflated sell pressure, right? By just free Dex flying into the out there. So we need to make a conscious effort to continually add to the liquidity. Over a longer period, what this is going to do is allow the GDEX holders themselves basically the ability to control their own fate. This may be a grind, once we start getting back to the 100 200 levels, right? We might see some people trying to sell and take profits. But what's important, what's great about that is because there's no sell pressure, inflation sell pressure, and there's always these liquidity, zaps coming in. There's just always constant buy pressure with, hopefully very little sell pressure, and then automated rewards based on real yields, right? So, in theory, we should have a very nice looking chart that kind of goes up and to the right. Potentially even, something we could, determine or at least, discuss is, different allocations in bull markets versus bear markets. If the whole market is slumping, we could potentially divert more of those rewards into the buybacks and liquidity zaps to, keep us going up and to the right, so that the actual GDEX price is maintained. And maybe sacrifice some reward for that. Again, that could be something that to be discussed. But it just gives us a lot more options and more control as a community.
Yeah, and just to clarify, what you mentioned there, I know from our discussions that we're pushing for more openness around this and more overall governance by holders. So this isn't something that we're looking to just change spur of the moment. Those sorts of discussions would likely be the types of things that fall under the governance voting. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Sevik and Jay don't know that, we're really focused on just building partnerships, building products, right? Let us focus on what we do well, and over time, we definitely want to, relinquish some of that power and kind of give it back to the people. Like I said, the DAO revenue is all for the community, and like I said, as time goes on and we're comfortable with liquidity, those are definitely things that we could put up for votes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, looking here, some of the rest of the questions are more on the. Let's talk roadmap real quick. Dex Bank, we have a question about that, and I know there's been discussion thrown around over the past year in the chat, but Dex Bank, is that spanning the traditional bank to DeFi? Does that include an on ramp of funds from TradeFi into DeFi?
Yeah, that was always our larger scale initiative, our larger plan. Like I said, like everything we're kind of doing, we're gonna be taking it in phases. Everything, our schedule is just pretty ambitious. So we want to, kind of keep keep adding things to our stack. You know, the first part of that being USDX, fully collateralized USDX, and the leverage vault system. That'll be like that'll be our first, you know, the first part of DexBank, where we can create this lending market, right? Obviously expanding on that lending market, having additional things that you can borrow and lend against. You know, that will probably be step 2. In fact, we're already talking. We've already talked to one of the largest projects actually on BSC that does that. That just asked if we wanted to be part of their new, you know, their new lending program. So, you know, there'll be some, you know, ins and outs and, you know, collaborations with some of that. But yeah, then ultimately, you know, once we feel comfortable in the, you know, the kind of minimal viable product, yeah, we definitely are. In fact, honestly, you might get some of that stuff, like the on ramps. You might even get some of that stuff in DexSwap. That's part of our plan. It's been part of our research, and you know, we have that in the plans. Um, you know, I don't want to give any timelines on it yet, but that's for sure the plan. You know, ultimately, we would love to have a you know, a DexPay with our own credit card and banking system. You know, part of that will, like I said, we have to kind of take things step by step and see where, you know, regulation is at on each of these matters. But yeah, that's definitely the plan. We have, you know, high hopes and large ambitions.
For sure, for sure. You guys have anything else? We've really hit a lot of these questions that we were provided by the community.
Yeah, I think we hit everything. I was gonna just have us clarify on the revenue going to GDEX, but we ended up hitting that.
Yeah, let me look over these notes here. Anything? If you guys got any last questions, you know, feel free to pop them in. Of course, you know, we're always available on the chats and stuff, you know, to answer directly. But we want to, you know, we really want to make sure everyone's taken care of. Any more Dex IRA questions? Did we miss in the first segment?
I think we got a question on Dex merch. Definitely something that's being worked on and discussed. I think the team's been begging for it.
Yeah, we were just discussing it in the team chat. And again, it's my responsibility, guys. I definitely slacked. I want to just let everyone know you can blame Jaded Emperor.
Yeah, you're the only one with an actual Dex hoodie, I think.
No, there's 3 of us with Dex hoodies, but I'm the only one that rocks it publicly.
Yeah.
I might have lost mine, actually. I need a new one, Jaded.
Thorhammer asked, when announcing new partner?
Thorhammer, you're gonna like it.
Yeah, he'll probably guess it ahead of time. That's his thing. Yeah. I know next week we'll have a few announcements coming out, at least some new farms and closer collaborations with a few that we've been working on.
Yeah, you know what? I just to quickly touch on some of that, like, you know, if any guys been in sales, you know how it works, right? Like, it takes a while. I mean, well, not only that we're just still building the product, right? So, like, again, every chain that we go to, we have a bigger pool to start fishing in. But even after the product's actually built, you know, building that pipeline, like you never close 100% of the people you go after, but having that pipeline filled is critical. And you know, honestly, I'm real happy with the progress that everyone on the team's made. You know, we went from you know, being not a player at all in the space to you know, is that we're on, you know, I'm meeting with project owners like, you know, half a dozen to, you know, a dozen times a week. You know, kind of, like I said, filling that pipeline. And honestly, like, it's almost just scheduling right now is getting extra dev work done, and you know, getting, you know, announcements you know, together. And you know, like I said, this upcoming week we have a couple things coming out, like Sevik said, and you know, moving forward it should be more of an ongoing rollout schedule for some of that stuff.
Yeah, you've been busy. You've got meetings nearly every day, and then AMAs for the last 2 weeks. I don't know I don't know how you keep track of it, especially with some of those 3-hour AMAs that go on behind the scenes.
And guys, I'm so tired of AMAs. Only this one's special because you guys all deserve it. But now we'll a lot of it's important. A lot of new stuff coming up. People gotta know.
Tim asked a question about bribing and boosting. I think that's in regard to the V33 solidly fork vaults that we've been posting. You have any thoughts on joining in on the government's bribing on that side?
Yeah, Timmy, trying to get all the alpha out, huh?
Yep.
We don't. I don't have an exact plan, but I will say this. The clearly the solidly forks are the new trend right now, and we're gonna follow that trend. Um, you know, Part of our plan is just to pop up the hottest solidly fork on every chain. We already have 2 or 3 of them. I think we'll have another one with Glacier coming up. In fact, the guys at Glacier and us we've been friends for a while. Just good solid industry folk. So we actually have an opportunity to test and push limits there. I don't want to give away too much, but yeah, I definitely want to get a little more involved. Not only with our treasury investments, but also creating vaults that integrate with some of the V33 stuff. We'll have a more clear path to that stuff. Not sooner rather than later for you guys, but yeah, that's definitely something we have on the agenda.
Yeah, and Tim clarified a little bit. He stated it was relating to GDEX, but I think as we're looking at the tokenomics of GDEX, we're still trying to decide what options we have. Essentially, if we're bribing anything, that money needs to come from somewhere. So it kind of comes down to, how to.
Well, I'll put it this way: like if our treasury takes an investment position, if we take a position in Thena, let's say, and we have voting power, but potentially GDEX holders we could have a separate vote where GDEX holders got to choose which way our treasury investments voted.
There you go.
For pairs that they're in. That's kind of where we're going.
Yeah, I like that.
It may also just be all fully automated based on the vaults that you're in.
Ratios and things. Yep.
As well, yeah. So we got we're well aware that it's that's where the money's going right now. So like I said, we're gonna follow a trend, and we have been we've been cooking up some unique solutions for that.
Yeah, especially with core projects that are working directly with us and partnering. We reach out to every project that we list, and when we go to a new chain, we reach out early to try to establish communications. But as you can imagine, some of the big boys, we're not going to get Uniswap to reach back out to us when we go to ETH eventually. So, it's about building our street cred in DeFi, and we're starting to see a difference in projects approaching us, not just us approaching them now at this point.
Well, I'll tell you too. What else? What I'm working on potentially could be like a turnkey solution, to where it's a concept that we're developing that has that doesn't exist on Solidly Forks yet, but could be very beneficial to not only us but also to them. All these Solidly Forks, the primary goal is to keep locking up their V NFTs. Without that, the kind of the flywheel stops moving. So this would actually help them achieve those goals. It would also give us some voting power as well. So, it's potentially something that we'd have some some weight to throw around if we projects that might not be super willing right now might be thrilled to have us if we brought this solution to them.
Yeah, exactly. And we we weren't in communication with Velocimeter before we listed their farms, but within about 20 minutes after listing them, they were in communication with us. So they definitely noticed the influx in capital and liquidity that went into their protocol from Dex vaults.
Yep, the
And
Dex
that
pump
can
group.
be, yeah, that, I mean, that shows the benefit that some newer dexes can have, especially when they are doing well. We can bring additional liquidity in and offer a more stable way to lock in that liquidity. Ultimately, our goal is to provide stable liquidity to these partner projects, or not even partner projects, but just DeFi projects in general.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, any closing words, either of you two?
Yeah. You got anything, Jaden?
Well, I was just going to thank everyone for coming and just, reiterate that I think that all the changes that we have in play are, being well thought out. These are things that the team has been discussing for a little bit now, especially in regards to Dex IRA and the switch to GDEX. I think it's just going to be a really good move that with time, people are going to realize was probably the right play for us to make in retrospect.
Yeah, I think not only just the time and preparation went into it. Of course, we have we truly believe we have the best interest of all the investors in mind. But whatever happens, we're gonna make it. Like I said, we'll make it right. We haven't left anyone behind. It'll all work out. We're just gonna keep building, keep doing it the right way. And again, if anyone is still after this AMA, anyone still has any questions, concerns, y'all know that myself and everyone here is very active on Telegram and on Discord. Feel free to hit us up. Any extenuating circumstances, we're happy to discuss with you guys. Of course, we know there's a ton of information in this document, and even what we just covered tonight. So, just take a while to digest it. I think I said right in the beginning of the article that this definitely could have been introduced in several stages. However, because everything is so linked together in the ecosystem, and we're really just trying to untangle everything and make it real straightforward moving forward, that we just thought it was important that everyone got all the information at once. Otherwise, we'd hear the other side of it, that we were playing favorites or anything like that. So just take it all with a grain of salt. Reach out to us if you got any questions, and we just appreciate all your support.
Yeah. Well, thank you two for coming. Thanks for everyone for joining today, and join us in our Discord and Telegram communities if you have any further questions. Otherwise,
right,
we'll look to wrap this up.
Appreciate it, guys. Talk to you soon.
Take it easy, everybody.
Okay, guys. Have a great day.